So welcome to Collaborate Live, Series 2, Episode 1. Collaborate Live is part of our journey of exploration into how other people collaborate. And so after so much positive feedback around Series 1, we're back with Series 2 and on a new platform. For our first episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Helen Amery and Michelle Parry-Slater. Helen's founder of Wildfig Solutions, and Helen works with business leaders and she offers coaching and development. Michelle is founder of Kairos Modern Learning, I hope I've said that right, and her area of specialism is social and blended learning. So welcome, ladies. I'd like to start by asking Helen, if you can kick us off, tell me a little bit about why collaboration matters so much to you and how it plays a part in the work that you do.
Yeah, sure. So I guess for me, overall, collaboration is about creating more and better than you could on your own. And I use it in a lot more than I probably often realise. So one of the most obvious ones is when I'm designing or developing sort of traditional learning content with a client. And we'll work together, obviously, because I need to understand their business and what they need to get from the content, and I'll put some stuff together and then we'll share it around and ultimately get to something that we're both happy with. Or working with other people delivering some content, collaborating in that way to make sure that we do the best for the learners. Then we've got obviously events, so we're going to be talking a lot today about Learn, Connect, Do, so projects like that I might collaborate on with other freelancers where we are nowhere near each other in the UK, but we come together to create some great stuff. And the third area for me, which was kind of a surprise actually, so my biggest passion is one-to-one coaching with senior leaders. And quite early on in my career, one of my clients said to me, he said, it's just been so amazing how we've collaborated on this as we've worked through the sessions. And I was kind of like, oh, really? Is that how it felt? Because I'm quite non-directive with my coaching. I don't give a lot of input. I don't give a lot of, I guess, training stuff within there. It's very much drawing from the individual. But yeah, from his perspective, it was a collaborative experience because I guess we were in it together to achieve what he wanted to achieve. So that was really nice to kind of see that part of my work as collaboration as well.
Obviously, so, it comes very naturally then, doesn't it? And it's nice that sometimes it surprises you how natural it is. That's great. Thanks, Helen. Michelle, how about you?
For collaboration, for me, I never realised how much I needed it actually until I started being freelance. I never realised how much I bounce my ideas off of the people and how I feed it from other people's energy. So I might have an idea and they may turn around and go, yeah, that doesn't work. And I'll take that and then do something else with it. So I love the opportunity, now I'm freelance, to collaborate with other people. So when Learn, Connect, Do, Helen's baby around the fringe for the CIPD L&D Show came on board, brilliant, that's perfect for me, love it. Love getting involved, love putting that opportunity, because if I feel like this as a freelancer, then other people who are in small and medium-sized companies must feel the same way. When I was in a corporate role, I was the only L&D person in the company, and I had responsibility for thousands of people's learning, but I never did that on my own. I guess I just didn't realise that I wasn't doing it on my own. So I've actually started other things based on the back of what we've done on Learn, Connect, Do to try and put an opportunity for freelancers to get together. So L&D co-work was a hashtag we started just this week with a series of experiments around collaboration, because I'm also interested in space. It's not just necessarily the thinking and the people, but actually where you're collaborating that can make the difference. And I guess we'll come on to that a little bit later when we talk about Learn, Connect, Do and the space that we did that in. So I'm starting a bit of a series of experiments around collaboration.
Fantastic. So Helen, obviously Michelle's already mentioned Learn, Connect, Do, which is a great lead-in to setting the scene for us about what that was all about, and yeah, just setting the scene and I guess your motivation for starting that event.
Yeah. So as a blogger for the CIPD, they were keen for me to take a bit of an SME angle this time for the L&D show, so last month in May. And when Joanna mentioned that, I just thought, do you know what? For me, there feels like a real gap at these events. Doug Shaw and Meg Pepin have done something at the annual conference before in Manchester, where they've created these breakfast events for people to come together and talk about what they're hearing, talk about some of the challenges that are going on in work, And so when Joanna said to me about this SME focus she'd like me to take for the L&D show, I thought, well, actually, there's something there that we can create something that's more for these sole practitioners, like Michelle mentioned. So whether they actually could be in a bigger business and working on their own, or in a small business, and give people that chance to really connect, to talk, to build a new network, to share some of their frustrations and to realise, oh my God, it's not just me, and to share some content. So obviously, I mean, these events are incredible. There is so much to go and see and do and spend time on. Nobody could ever do it all. So also it was a chance for people to come together and share some of that and say, well, I went to this session and I went to that session, so let's talk together, because both those things could help us with what we want to achieve in work. So it was a chance to bring that learning together as well, hopefully sending people back into real life with more than they came with and more than they ever expected to leave with. So yeah, it was that really.
So what did you actually do? Michelle, you might want to pick this one up. What did you do on the day?
It actually started before the day. The collaboration started with Helen asking out in our Google Plus community who wants to get involved. So a little group of us ended up being involved, and we had a couple of online meetings beforehand to plan what we thought would be useful to that group of people, focusing on that SME group. And Helen did a really great little video recording summarising what we were planning to do, which is a really nice way to collaborate, because we kind of think of collaboration as face-to-face, or we think of collaboration as we're doing now. But actually to receive a little video précis rather than a written précis was lovely. Once we actually got there, what we actually did, we got people together. It was the end of the day. I think if we had any learning around that, we might think about that differently. People had been on their feet all day, so we had a smaller number than we anticipated, because people were just sort of exhausted after all of the effort of the day. But when we got together, we helped people to think about, just like Helen was saying, what is it that you've got out of the conference and the exhibition? Because there's so much in there, and it's often aimed at large corporates. It's not aimed at their group. So we really started unpicking the value of what was going on during the day. We then took a little quirky sidestep, inspired, I think, by Doug Shaw and his drawings, and Simon Heath and his drawings, and we asked everyone to draw something. Helen, you might want to pick up from me kind of what happened with all of that.
Yeah, sure. So and actually, I think from memory, Michelle, I'm sure it was you or Rowena also brought in that idea of drawing. And yeah, just to kind of pick up that point, I think the best thing for me about this whole experience was so initially 6 of us came together on a face-to-face Google Hangout to talk broadly about what the purpose was and bounce ideas around. We then moved into a Google Plus community where it was, typed conversation. That was one of the best things for me, of so me sharing some initial thoughts of and confirming what we'd agreed on the face-to-face hangout, which people then added to, built on, bounced off to create something completely, well, way better than we'd started with. Which was where the drawing thing came, and where we had, so I'll just show you, we've got the delegates' cards that they created on the day that are going to go back to them. So they started with a picture of where they wanted to get to, a vision of the end of their goal, of whatever it was they're trying to achieve at work. And then through the conversations, obviously then doing that sharing that Michelle just described around, so what have we heard, and what other solutions are there, what ideas are there, how can we take these things forward? And everybody closed with writing a commitment on their cards, something that they've said, this is my sort of call to action to myself, if you like. And then I took the cards back, they've addressed them. So I've got them all there ready and stamped to post back next week, so people can remind themselves of what they'd said they would do, and can check if they actually did it.
Fantastic. What about the behaviours within that environment? So how did you make it a really productive collaborative environment? What did you notice about the characteristics, the way in which people behaved, and what you had to do to make it work?
I think we started with a lot of energy, didn't we, Helen? So even though it was the end of the day and we recognised everyone was a little bit tired and jaded, Helen introduced everyone, and I did a little bit and it was very energetic, and so everyone felt they wanted to be involved. It's a technique that I've used a lot in face-to-face and training, and it tends to work, especially in that kind of tired slot. So everyone was really up for it. I have to say, everyone was really up for it. The conversations just absolutely flowed. There was good biscuits. That's always great.
We literally had security chucking us out. People could have stayed and talked for a lot longer, which was another learning. It's like, how can we make this bigger and give people more space? Because people were getting loads out of the conversations. And yeah, it was
Okay, so
sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of learning, I think originally when you told me about it, it was an hour-long event. So did it expand beyond that because people were so engaged?
Yeah.
We physically couldn't, because the security folk were just there going, right, your time is up, you've got to leave the building. So we were shepherding people off. And so there was a tweet up at the pub near the Olympia. So some people carried on conversations there. And I know that some have connected since, and because that was one of their commitments to each other, that they were going to connect after the event. So yeah, but we did literally have to just say, sorry folks, time's up, we've got to go.
Okay, great. So let's move on to lessons learned then. So what in particular have you taken away from the event, and this is something that you do differently next time?
Do you want to get that, Michelle?
Okay. We learned the fact that we should do it more, that it's actually important for people to collaborate, that group of people, like you say, even if they're in a larger corporate, there may be one L&D person within a wider framework, and they have no one to bounce L&D ideas off. And the input from a wider group of people was hugely beneficial. So I think the first lesson was do it, absolutely do it. Give that group a voice. What's interesting, in addition, in terms of our lessons learned, were how to continue that conversation. I'm very mindful in the work I do that we can't just have a one-stop shop. We can't just have one injection of education. We can't just have that one opportunity. So it's also then, how do we continue it? How do we make it bigger and better for next year? And we've already started thinking about that. I had a conversation with the event organisers and said, we need a little space. We need a space for SMEs to have these conversations, which, they can carry on in the pub, and that's great, but actually not everyone's got that opportunity. So there was that lesson learned. Getting people there was another lesson learned. It was the end of the day, and so could we have got more people? It would have been probably a better experience with more people. So maybe advertising more, advertising differently. Those are the kinds of things. Anything to add, Helen?
Yeah, no, I think that's all really valid. And I'm very, it was our first foray into this kind of thing. It was brand new to us and to everybody who was there. And I do have a belief that these things grow more through word of mouth than through traditional marketing routes. So I think there's probably some stuff we could have done about being cleverer with how we targeted people to invite. And going forward, it's then kind of, it's more of a gradual building. And we talked about, didn't we, so this, if we could have a separate space and get the CIPD sort of almost endorsing it even more than they did, because they were a huge support as well. They provided us the space, they provided us with teas and coffees and the biscuits. They made sure that so without us even asking, in fact, they asked the event team to get us signs to show what we were doing in the space where it was. So that was a fantastic support from them, and they were there in the night to support as well. And I think there's more we can do with that, and make this even bigger, better, not just an hour at the end of the day thing. And I think it would be hugely beneficial.
Great, and it sounds as though you've done the prototype, and you've test driven the prototype, and it's worked, and it really gives you a good platform for doing more. What I'm also interested in is around the collaborative environment that you created. So what did you learn about how bringing strangers together is in terms of collaboration, and would you do anything differently on the back of what you learned?
Do you mean actually on the day at the actual event?
Or were they not strangers by then? Because obviously you did some work beforehand with them. So how was that?
No, so the work we did in advance was so it was myself and the team. So there was Michelle, obviously who's here right now, Fiona McBride, Emma Browse, Julie Dryborough, and Rowena Back, and then towards the end Blake Hennigan joined us as well. So we were the kind of we were the events team, if you like. We were the creators of it. We were the organisers, the marketeers, all that stuff. The people who actually came as delegates, so they, a couple of people knew some people, but generally they were all strangers to each other. And Michelle, I'm kind of thinking, because obviously I knew everybody who joined our group. Did you know everybody?
No, I didn't know everybody. So just from the events team, that was just great, get people together. I think actually it worked well because it was L&D people, and we are quite social and chatty, and we're used to meeting strangers. So there was no issue around sort of people not wanting to join in. We started the event with a little bit of who you are and why you're here kind of thing. So it never felt awkward in any way. The collaboration literally started from the second everyone walked to the area that we held the event.
Yeah. And I guess everybody wanted to be there. So like Michelle said, you know, it's end of a long day. Your brain's absolutely stuffed full of content, and you might be feeling pretty jaded. So the people who were there really wanted to be there. They knew there was benefit to be gained from being there. So I guess, and that for me showed through with our group of event folk as well. So I guess because I went to people and said, who wants to be involved? People like Michelle and Fiona and everybody wanted to be there. You know, nobody was forced to be in that group or on that team. Everybody believed in what we were trying to achieve. And so for me, that whole experience just reinforced the power of giving people a purpose that they care about, and that if that's in place, people will kind of bring their whole heart to the stuff and really be committed to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real driving force when you've got that clear purpose. So what's on your collaboration wish list next?
I guess we've already talked about it a bit. For me, it's trying to make this bigger and better and bring it to more people, make it more of a normal thing. I've even started about how can I do something locally in my community in the East Midlands, so that there's perhaps something that I do here, which then spreads so that when we get to the bigger events nationally, it's kind of a continuation of that. Yeah. And I've not mentioned that to Michelle actually, but now I'm sitting here thinking, and perhaps everybody in the team could be doing that, and then we can we can spread it across the whole country.
Funnily enough, I kind of already am, again, without speaking to you about it, Helen. I've got involved in a few local business communities, in a few local jellies, to try and kind of have this idea of just people together in a workspace, because it's phenomenal. And I don't think you realise this until you perhaps work from home or work in a very small team, how much you kind of glance across the office in a corporate environment and just share eye contact with somebody, and the benefits of even that level of collaboration, just another human being connecting with another human being on a very, very basic level. It's energizing, it's inspiring, it's comforting sometimes. And so, as I said earlier, I've really got into this idea of we need to think about space, we need to think about better collaboration, we need to think about seeing the whites of their eyes, even if that is in a virtual way like this. I find it really beneficial. So I've started, as I said earlier, these kind of little experiments of thinking, is it space that's important? Is it people that's important? Is it bringing a topic? Is that what's important? Or is it all three of these things? So I'm going to have a series of L&D co-work meetups, or even virtual meetups, so that we can just work on whatever it is that we're working on, but just in company with another person. And I was with Liam Moore on Wednesday. We had the first one, and it was really beneficial. There was only the two of us, but actually, just sharing a moment with somebody, I got so much more work done in those few hours than I do at home. And I think, well, why is this? So I'm just at the start of that collaboration journey, but I think it's definitely the future. And as we see more and more people going into smaller companies, into freelance, into little, Tuesday companies, I think it will be a bigger thing in the future. I mean, I've heard on the market that their expectation is that the freelance market is going to grow by 1 million companies over the next year or so. So I think by 2020, I'm terrible with numbers, but somebody was telling me the other day of how big the market's going to be. How are we all going to do it without collaborating?
Right, yeah. Ladies, that is all we've got time for. Thank you so much for sharing your insights into the Fringe event at the CIPD. It's been really, really interesting listening to you. We'll be back with the next episode of Collaborate Live very soon. But for now, thank you very much to Helen and Michelle, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.